everybody, this is Stitch1993 here, and welcome back to another What Was video, where I go over a television show that I believe is underrated or just not as talked about anymore as it used to be. Now, if this is your first time watching this series, I typically talk about shows from my youth while growing up in the 90s and 2000s that fall under one of three specific categories. 1. It was a show I watched as it was airing or shown in reruns on channels such as TV Land and Boomerang. 2. It was a show I was introduced to through a family member or friend, typically by gifting me a DVD or VHS that had a few episodes on it. Or 3. I found out about the show myself by renting a copy of a VHS or DVD at my local Blockbusters or Family Video or my local library, or buying it via a thrift store. But today, I'm going to talk about a show that fits none of these three categories, though it almost did. As I previously mentioned, I would sometimes come across shows on VHS or DVD at my local thrift store. My mom loved shopping at thrift stores, especially when we were in elementary school, since I grew out of clothes fairly quickly. It was also pretty cheap. Sometimes we would spend hours browsing for clothes for myself, my sister, and my mother. At one particular thrift store, a Salvation Army, they had one rack, usually close to the register, where they sold VHSs, DVDs, and the occasional video game. One purchase I still own to this day from that thrift store is my copy of Dinosaur, which I previously reviewed in a VHS Pile video. However, that was when I had an allowance or Christmas or birthday money to burn. Any other time, if I found a video that looked intriguing, I had to ask my mom for her to buy it. Most of the time she would say no, as it was not in the budget, but she'd occasionally make an exception. The emphasis is on the word occasionally. So one time, I saw a very intriguing VHS with some puppets on it. I brought it to my mom, and though she agreed she thought the cover was intriguing, she had never heard of the show, so she was not sure how kid appropriate it was and made me put it back. For decades I forgot about the visit, but when I started reviewing VHSs, my mind suddenly recovered the memory, and the only word that I could remember was moon. Thankfully, if you Google the words puppet, moon, and TV show, Button Moon is most likely one of the first results you'll get. And just like that, the VHS cover flooded back my mind. Upon some further investigation, it seems that this show never made it to the US, and the VHS was a PAL version, so even if my mom did buy the VHS, I doubt it would have actually worked. And it appears you can watch almost the entire series on YouTube. So now I'm here to answer the question, what was Button Moon? The show was a UK show that aired from December 8th, 1980 through December 1st, 1988 on the ITV network. It ran for 7 seasons and consisted of a total of 91 episodes. It was produced by Thames Television, which also helped produce such shows as Count Duckula, Danger Mouse,
He's the greatest. He's fantastic.
and The Benny Hill Show. Each episode ran for about 10 minutes and consisted mainly of rod puppets made out of recycled dishware items. It mainly followed the Spoon family, who were named because their arms and hands are made of wooden spoons. Mr. Spoon was the main character, but there was also his wife, Mrs. Spoon. Their daughter, Tina T. Spoon. Small Bottle and Captain Large, 2 detergent bottles that were part of an army. Queen Jelly, who is a giant jelly cake. And many other characters as well. all mainly also being made from recycled items.
A honey sandwich, asked the cow.
The Spoon family lived on Junk Planet, and most of the planet was made, again, using recycled parts or looks like cardboard and construction paper, mainly just items you would find around the house. It was a very simple set, usually consisting of the house and the rocket ship, as well as the background being just a black sheet with some lights being represented as stars, and always the titular button moon being up, usually in the far right hand corner. In almost every episode, Mr. Spoon or somebody else would fly in their rocket ship over to the titular button moon and have an adventure of their own, or sometimes Mr. Spoon would bring his telescope up to Button Moon and watch some other creatures on other planets have stories and adventures of their own. The show is such a relaxing show with calm music and a soft-voiced narrator, Robin Parkinson, who also voiced most of the cast of Button Moon. With as many characters in the show, it was actually surprising to me that the show only consisted of 3 actors. The other 2 being Ian Allen, who only has this show and a show called The Spook of Bottle Bay on his resume, and John Thurtle, who also worked on a show called The Spooks of Bottle Bay, but also helped on movies such as The Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island. Altogether, the show equals one remarkably chill show that, even though is pushing over 40 years old, feels like a classic show that even children and adults alike can still enjoy. As I mentioned earlier, it does not appear that this show ever made it to the US officially in either streaming or physical media. But you can check out the series on YouTube, which I highly recommend that you do if this show seems even slightly appealing to you. And that was Button Moon, a classic show to this day, in my opinion. Now it's time for you viewers to let me know how you found out about this show. Did you grow up with Mr. Spoon? Or were you like me and only grazed over the Button Moon? Or is this your first time looking through the telescope and finding out about the show through this video? Let me know either way down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, you can subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and definitely recommend other shows you'd like me to check out. Until next time, thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.